Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another week of PWD action. I am your host and coach of the Atlanta Sobble, actually Amungus, and here we have a Week 4 matchup against the Manchester Mimikyu. Now, the Manchester Mimikyu are coached by one of my favorite content creators in the league to watch. I enjoy his content very much. He's a great guy. Coach Peekaboo, as you can see on your screen right now. However, the Atlanta Sobble is looking strong in this season, sitting currently at 2-1. We prepared hard for this matchup. We're taking every matchup very seriously this season, and our match against the Manchester Mimikyu was definitely no exception to that. So coming into this battle, like I said, we did a lot of prep. We were ready for a lot of things that he might have brought. We had prepared. We had watched his previous week battles. We seen that he had brought a trick room set one week. We prepared for that. We seen him bring Swirlix and set up sticky webs and safeguard another week. We prepared for that. As we see, he does bring the Swirlix as well as Charizard, Meowstic, Mimikyu, Shedinja, and Magneton. So, just to be perfectly honest, this was not the same type of team that I predicted Coach Peekaboo would bring. But, as I had said, we did a ton of preparation for these battles in Season 2 of the PWD, and we were ready for just about anything that he might have brought. I go ahead and I lead with my Salazzle. Knowing that my Salazzle has Taunt, I didn't know if he was going to maybe go some off-brand kind of Trick Room. I didn't think that he really was going to do Trick Room without bringing his Bronzong. But the Swirlix lead was a good possibility. Meowstic's lead a good possibility. Setting up Mimikyu. Basically, my thinking coming into this first play was that Taunt and a good offensive presence was a fairly safe play. So he does lead with the Swirlix, which, as I've seen him do in a prior battle in Season 2 of PWD, he brought the Swirlix for, you would kind of say like a Swirlix suicide lead. That's a mouthful right there. And he goes for the sticky web, but I'm able to taunt and prevent that. Now, I wasn't sure if he was going to go to Magneton here. I could have fired off a Sludge Bomb. I could have fired off quite a few plays. I figured that if he did switch to the immunity, even though I'm also a fire type, that Toxic was a really safe play, that because of my corrosion ability, that there's nothing on his team that I can't get a Toxic off on, and of course being a poison type, my Toxics won't check accuracy, it's a guaranteed hit. It just seemed like the most safe middle ground play after a great lead off. So we get the Toxic off on the Charizard, not really the way that we needed to dispose of this threat. It's not the bulkiest of Pokemon on his team, so to whittle it down was really not the plan. We're going to go out instead to our Claydol, and Claydol's purpose on this team is really just to resist hits, good typing against Coach Peekaboo's team, and just in case he did bring the Trick Room team, I brought an Imprison Trick Room setup on my Claydol because he can outspeed most Trick Room users, and then he can prevent them from setting up the Trick Room and get off some damage while he's still out on the field. As a matter of fact, I know that Mimikyu could have been a possible fast Trick Room setter, with the Meowstic also having access to it. I kind of like mistakenly went for This was definitely my worst play of the game, to go for that Imprison over an Earth Power, which could have broken the Mimikyu's disguise. That would have definitely came in a lot, would have came in handy as for dealing with this later on, as well as preserve some of my differential. But hindsight's always 20/20, right? I prepared just in case he brought the Trick Room, and so I opted to implement some of that tech, even though it was unneeded. Then we go into our Miltank, and this week, even though it didn't really become a factor, we go for the Iron Head, which was super effective here. We did bring the scrappy Miltank, so like my matchup against this Mimikyu, even though it's +2, is pretty good. Obviously, luck becomes a factor on this turn because we do get the flinch. You could definitely say I was crossing my fingers for that one because I knew that the Mimikyu would hurt. But Miltank's really bulky. I'm not sure exactly what would have happened, but I have, a little bit more base speed than Mimikyu and some good defense as well. I was pretty confident with my Miltank versus Mimikyu matchup, but that flinch definitely helped me out a whole lot and took out probably my opponent's biggest threat, because once I have Stealth Rocks out on the field, Shedinja is basically neutralized. And, actually, that's the only thing that went down. No, wait, the Claydol also. So, Mimikyu, Miltank ended up picking up a couple of kills with the Iron Head, nabbing both the fairy types, Mimikyu and Swirlix. And really with that flinch, the momentum definitely starts to shift in my direction. I say shift in my direction, but I kind of use that term loosely because from the first turn of the battle, we did have a pretty decided advantage. We did well to predict what the Manchester Mimikyu might be able to do against our team and come prepared for it. So the momentum was kind of always ours, but like it heavily shifted, you would say, in our favor at that turn. So Coach Peekaboo is going to Dynamax Gigantamax his Charizard on this turn. And like I said before, we don't have the thick fat ability. We brought Scrappy, so we don't end up actually using that ability. And I don't know if our Miltank would have went down or not with the thick fat, but it goes down there on G-Max Wildfire, sort of evening things up for Coach Mimikyu or Coach Peekaboo and the Manchester Mimikyu. However, this week we brought a Choice Banded Physical Blastoise with access to priority and momentum. So we're able to pick up a kill really cleanly on the revenge kill, taking out his G-Max with minimum downside. We only take the wildfire damage pretty clean. We are locked into our Aqua Jet here, but like his remaining 3 Pokemon, you could say, are not the biggest offensive presences, so we're able to switch out no problem. We just go to our Aegislash right here, As you've seen, it was assault vest, so you know we don't have access to King Shield, any of Aegis/'s setup moves or anything of that sort. But what we do have is great bulk, especially in our shield form before we go for that first attack, and we're able to eat up that hit really well even after the wildfire damage. Then we go for Shadow Sneak, knowing that this Pokemon has access to Prankster. You know, Thunder Wave could be coming, this and that. We'll just go ahead and go for our own priority attack, see what it does. It ends up going for Dark Pulse, which, like I had mentioned before, we are Assault Vest, and so even in our Blade form, we're able to get take that hit very well. Then we go for another Shadow Sneak. Yeah, as I said, you know, his last 3 Pokemon really don't pose that much of an offensive threat, so like we can just kind of click buttons and stay in. We don't have to play too conservative. We end up picking up another kill here, and we pick up the first kill with Aegislash. Magneton comes in, and as I mentioned before, I don't see the reason to do all the switching around, try to gain an advantage. There is always the logic of doing everything you can in order to preserve differential, but at this point I feel like I've pretty much got it on lock. You know, remember I do have Stealth Rocks out, so Shedinja is basically dead. He sets up the electric terrain and shows that he is faster, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to go down from this rising voltage, but I go for the Sacred Sword just in case my opponent wanted to maybe go for a Thunder move that was maybe going to miss, another setup. Something of that sort. Could have picked up the kill there, but Aegislash does go down on that turn, and it is what it is, because at this point we can just go to our Salazzle. Even if we didn't have the Stealth Rocks, obviously this has super effective attacks and enough speed to take down the Shedinja. So it's pretty much over at this point whenever Salazzle comes out onto the field. But Salazzle doesn't get the kill. I actually credited Claydol with the kill because, being Shedinja, it dies exclusively to the Stealth Rocks damage. And so that would be our Week 4 battle, of course, against Coach Peekaboo and the Manchester Mimikyu. They played a great game, but we're going to move to 3-1, and I will see you guys next week. So, until then, peace.